Attention unites, ability divides. This session is about using mindful attentional focus techniques to enable access to ballet for all. I have no financial disclosure that would represent a potential conflict of interest. Hello, I'm Clare Guss-West from Switzerland, and in this interactive session, we'll be reviewing both research findings and practical applications, and moving interactively from screen to some practical direct experience. So make sure you have a little bit of space around you for movement and a chair or a support to hold on to if you need. It doesn't matter what discipline you are from, nor your dance skills level. For as the title suggests, we are interested in facilitating ballet for all. What do we mean by ballet for all, and why is that even important? Well, the demand for inclusive practice is growing, and this brings with it the question of accessibility to this form. The need for adapted, inclusive strategies that support teachers and enable learning and performance is really now acute. More and more teachers find themselves addressing a wide range of physical, mental, and attentional challenges amongst students in regular ballet class. Students may be suffering from attentional deficit hyperactivity disorder. They may be somewhere on the autism spectrum, suffering from obesity. They may have physical challenges such as scoliosis or more severe physical impairment, or neurodegenerative diseases such as cerebral palsy. Institutions such as the Royal Academy of Dance and the Joffrey Ballet School's Adaptive Dance Program embrace such diversity and inclusivity, and in many cases integrate children with motor challenges into regular class. Young Chloe Henderson, the RAD's first disabled student to pass the syllabus exam, reports that when she does ballet, she feels like she is in a world where she is not different. Lark Johnson is one of the first Joffrey students with cerebral palsy to dance in their Nutcracker performance last year. Nutcracker ballet master Suzanne Lopez explains that their objective is that they want all people in the audience to feel represented. Just because we have a disability doesn't mean we can't be a normal kid, says Lark. So many teachers find themselves having to improvise and provide huge differentiation in class. Some may have to incorporate supports, walking devices, and wheelchairs into ballet class without teachers having any specific complementary training or knowledge of teaching approaches to facilitate such inclusion. The attraction to dance, and particularly to ballet, to participate in this normal is phenomenal for those with such movement and health challenges. According to ballet teacher Bradford Chin of Access Dance Company for Abled and Disabled Dancers, it's perhaps precisely because of ballet's unattainable status that it is so compelling. It's the Mount Everest of dance, as one colleague put it. This attraction to the seemingly unattainable dance also brings with it a tremendous power to transform certain health challenges. More than any other dance form, classical ballet presents perhaps the greatest challenges to all aspects of accessibility. Because of the predominant focus on external physical aesthetics of the form, for example, and on conformity to those traditional aesthetics. In order to enable access to ballet for all, the first thing that needs to shift is our own attention and the way that we focus on and see difference. The way that we currently evaluate, separate, and divide students based purely on physical ability. Bradford Chin of Access Dance Company offers a perspective to shift our attention. He asked the question, what is your tendu going to be? And he suggests that even in a professional group, of what seemingly homogeneous dancers, all of their tendus are realistically not the same action. Everybody has a different range of movement, of turnout, of point, of plantar flexion. So he says, we must take that concept of difference, of inevitable difference, and apply it to all people universally. Our dance technique is different from person to person, and we can extend this to all dancers. Bradford describes consciously promoting a specific attentional focus on the intention or the essence of the movement in teaching and instruction, and definitely away from a body-specific attention on physical ability and conformity. So in Axis Dance Company, they try to present material in a way that's not body-specific, thus giving people the freedom to approach the movement concepts in their own bodies. Bradford uses very accessible terminology. So perhaps instead of actually saying tendu, he'll say we're going to extend or stretch. And we can all understand that this is the action or the intention of the tendu. Similarly, he's found other ways to describe the classical positions of the legs and the feet, for example, depending on the weight-bearing base of the dancer. He simply refers to it as the base. So we can take a narrow base with the feet coming together for first position, a wider base, which we would call second position in ballet, a front and back base with weight evenly divided, which we call fourth position, and a crossed base, which we would call fifth position. So that allows dancers the freedom to explore within their own bodies their own possibilities. This holistic or mindful approach of Eastern movement practice works in exactly this way, going beyond physical ability to develop the inner work of movement of intention, attention, and focus, and the synergistic coordination of breath and energy. The systematic use of such an attentional focus on movement quality or effect, as Bradford describes, brings many learning advantages. It promotes a sense of inclusion and equality, rather than the sense of separation and difference experienced by focusing on physical ability. And at the same time, it facilitates optimum physical and mental performance for all, not only for those with movement challenges, but also for elite performers, unifying any diverse class. The 5,000-year-old approach of Eastern movement practice concurs with more recent 20-year-old body of motor learning research in attentional focus. To confirm that there are considerable learning advantages and performance advantages to adopting just such an external focus, as it's termed, onto the intended effect of the movement as a movement control strategy. This is all relative to a more habitual internal focus on the conscious control of the body or body part. The motor learning terminology of internal and external can seem somewhat limiting when we're working in dance practice and should not be taken at face value. It definitely needs further clarification before implementation can occur. Since I work almost exclusively in the implementation of attentional focus in dance in all its forms, I've expanded the brief definition to make a description that is a little more dancer-centric. So the most habitual approach to control instructions in dance is probably the internal attentional focus. And this draws the attention to the dancer's body parts. It promotes the conscious control or the adjustment of those body parts. Therefore, I term this one just simply parts as a quick way of remembering it. What this does is heightens access to the self-invoking schema. So body part instructions are self-focused, and the action of the self-invoking schema is inhibitive to movement. Any instruction that names a body part would be considered internal attentional focus. So such as very common instructions: keep the shoulders down, lengthen the neck, bend the elbow more, focus on your fingertips, stretch the foot. External attentional focus, on the other hand, can be thought of as a control approach that guides the attention to focus on the desired outcome of the movement or the movement effect. And I call this one patterns, so I can remember them very easily: parts and patterns. This guides the attention to any aspect of the movement itself rather than the person. So it could be the trajectory, the quality, the effect, the shape, or the outcome. This maintains the attention of the dancer onto the movement, and by so doing, we harness fast, reflexive, automatic movement adjustment in the body. Such instructions could be thought of as characterized by the absence of named body parts. We can be more creative, but this would be: create space, elongate towards the ceiling, make a sharp angle, send energy out, or reach through your shoe. The evidenced benefits of promoting an external focus as a systematic teaching strategy are extensive and compelling. They range from movement effectiveness. So the first one that we might notice is the balance and the ability to micro-adjust, therefore giving a sense of increased stability. We see increased strength, such things as increased jump height in the case of elite dancers. There's accuracy can be measured, also speed of movement and consistency of performance. Efficiency, movement, muscles, grouping, coordinating in efficient patterns. We see fluidity, therefore. Reduced muscular hypertension, or in elite performers, minimum muscular engagement. This is important in dancing with special needs group or other publics because there's a lot of tension around dancing itself or around the fear of being able to dance. So this is reduced increasingly. Heart rate is lowered, breathing is deepened, and all of this increases stamina and range of motion. There are significant benefits to learning, in some instances up to 50% increase in learning speed of a new skill. So the learning capacity is enhanced. Also, recall of learnt movement, meaning that there are permanent changes to movement skills. And perhaps my favorite in all of this is that by using an external focus of attention, I free up cognitive reserve. Now, this is literally, my best analogy is to think of it as my computer. When I will focus on the movement trajectory or the quality or the pattern, this takes less megabytes. And basically, I have more hard drive to work with. Focusing on my own control of my own body parts takes huge amounts of megabytes and slows up the whole system so that it's ineffective. So what happens when we've got free cognitive reserve is we're able to multitask better. We have faster reaction times. Our perception is improved, so musical listening or interpretation. We have room for other things. And importantly, for special needs groups, stress is reduced, or we manage stress more effectively. The good news for us is that this research has identified these advantages for all levels of expertise, from beginner to professional. These findings and these benefits are appropriate to all age groups and also to multiple conditions. So working with injury through rehabilitation, post-stroke recovery, working with Parkinson's disease, intellectual disability, and ADHD. So, let's ourselves experience the sensations associated with an internal and an external focus of attention, just in a simple balance exercise. You can make space and stand to do this exercise. You can have a support near you to hand if you need it. Or you can equally feel free to feel the differences between my two sets of instructions by working from your chair. So we're going to take a very simple balance exercise, and we're going to do it first time with internal attentional focus instructions, and the second time with external attentional focus instructions. And we're going to be not just worried about the outcome of the exercise, but I want you to observe what's happening in your body. So we call this a metacognitive challenge. I'd like you to notice, what are you thinking, how are you thinking, and how does that feel? So if you're already very experienced at balancing and an experienced dancer or teacher, please play the game and try to focus in on the instructions I give, even if you could do a much better job using your habitual focus instructions. I'm going to give us two choices. We can either balance in this crossed position, and now I'm pressing into the ground and going up onto half point, or I'm going to take arms out to the side in both cases. I'm just giving you the two choices. Or you can work in a parallel and take a high knee and arms out to the side. Are you good? So let's have, for each example we do, let's take 3 foci. The kind of things you'll be looking for in your own body. One is, of course, the stability of the balance. 2 is actually how much effort and muscle you're using in order to do that balance. 3 would be, how does that feel? Do you feel good or fragmented? And perhaps something unusual like, can you hear the music? And 4, am I breathing? Are you ready? So our 3 foci, if I'm going to stand in my cross position, I'm going to ask myself to squeeze the legs together. We're in internal focus now. Squeeze the legs together. So I have to name body parts. Take the arms out at shoulder level and lengthen the neck. I try to get a good classical posture. Yeah, but I'm using 3 body parts. So squeeze legs together, arms out at horizontal, and long neck. And if I'm going to use the parallel position, I'd like you to bring that knee as high as possible. That's my leg instruction. Arms out at shoulder height and a long neck. So if we've got those 3, we're going to take a bit of music, but just so that you can notice whether you can hear it or not. Are you good? So off we go. I'm going to try to do both of these. And squeezing the legs together, squeezing the legs together, and take the arms out at shoulder height, long neck, squeeze the legs together, arms out at shoulder height, very long neck, long neck, long neck. I'll do the other one, staying up if you can, and high knee, arms just at shoulder height, thinking of your own arms, shoulder height, and a long neck, knee high, good. And let's go the other side then. Are you ready? Changing sides, pressing into the ground, Squeeze the legs together. Squeeze the legs together. Arms at shoulder height and long neck. Just focus in on the arms, the squeeze and the long neck. And if we're in the parallel, give me a high knee, arms at shoulder height and long neck. And coming down and breathe out. Well done. And pausing for a moment. So let's do exactly the same thing, but change the way we're using the mind. We're going to focus in just on the effect we want from the movement. So I'd like you to reach out horizontally. You can extend that right out to the sides of the room. But if you could see yourself in a mirror, you'd just be looking for the horizontal. We're going to reach through to the ceiling or to the sky to get our lengthening. And we're going to press down and away in the ground to get that closed feeling. So I've got press the ground away, find the horizontal and reach through to the ceiling or to the sky. Are you good? And those of you that are in parallel, you're going to give me a triangle. So we're going very geometric. A triangle, a horizontal, and a press through to the sky. Are we good? Let's go on. And I'm starting in the cross position. So I'm pressing the ground away. Press the ground away. Reaching out to the sides, find your horizontal and lengthen through up into the air, into the sky. Find your horizontal that reaches out. Press the ground away and lengthen up into the sky. Good. Those of you on the other, let's try the triangle. Show me a clear triangle. Horizontal and press through into the sky. Push the floor away. Find the horizontal. Up into the sky. And one more time, the other side. Are you ready? I'll start with the crossed one. And push the floor away. Give me a horizontal. Reach out to the sides of your room and through the ceiling into the sky, pressing the floor away. Just noticing how the body feels different from the first one. Are you breathing? Reaching through to the ceiling. If you're giving me a triangle, how does the stability feel? Are you breathing? And change sides, last go, here we go. Press down, reach wide and through, up to the ceiling, or a triangle, clear triangle in your mind, horizontal and through up to the sky. Ask yourself the last question. Can you hear the music? Well done. You can come down and relax now. That was a very, very quick little test. So you might not have felt everything in the first go, but decide if you could feel any difference between internal and external. The kind of responses we often get is that we used a lot more effort or muscle to do the first one. People report that it was not so stable, that the second external felt much more stable. We also hear things like the external felt bigger than the internal, which felt smaller somehow. People respond that internal felt fragmented. So you were thinking neck, arms, legs in pieces, whereas the external gave a sense of whole, even though there was the same 3 foci. And the last questions to ask yourself, which I won't answer for you, was, were you breathing the same in both? And also, in which one could you hear the music more? Let's go on. So the 20 years of research findings are pretty robust in terms of the benefits experienced. But what is the mechanism that actually is occurring? And how does this work? Well, there are several hypotheses. Dr. Gabriella Wolf suggests that focusing on the movement effect, the external focus, promotes the utilization of our automatic control processes, as we discussed. Whereas the converse, trying to consciously control one's own movements in an internal focus, constrains the motor system by interfering with exactly those automatic control processes. Placing the attention on self-control or body parts is also shown to promote a global movement dysfunction. This extends way beyond the part itself to affect whole muscle chains and engage muscles quite unrelated to the task, producing a micro-choking or freezing effect. In the case of a neurodegenerative disease such as Parkinson's disease, that global movement dysfunction or freezing effect takes on a whole different order of magnitude. Dr. Gabriella Wolf proposes that when we focus on the self, on the control or adjustment of our own body movement, we divert attention and appear to trigger the self schema, which disturbs this efficient functioning of automatic control processes. The self schema is known to be particularly easily accessible when performing physically and also when in the public domain. So it's absolutely rife when performing dance. Dr. Hanna Poikkonen, neuroscientist, explains that all the while we are prompted by teachers to think about and adjust our movement, then we are operating in the primary motor cortex, and that any movement organized from this place will inevitably be slow and inefficient. Professor Richard Masters suggests that by conversely promoting an external focus of attention, we harness the vestiges of neural networks that support optimum movement. And these networks, he suggests, predate and bypass conscious self-reflective thought. So when we decide to harness some of these benefits of external focus of attention in dance practice, we discover that the range of possible types of foci is vast. This ranges from real, tangible foci to more subtle sensory and imaginary foci. Using an external focus of attention is, of course, not a new concept in dance. Many dancers and teachers intuitively come across external focus to enhance movement performance. However, in general, teachers tend to use external focus sporadically and spontaneously, and they will intersperse them with internal focus instructions, rather than deploying them systematically as part of a teaching strategy to enable movement for all. So these tangible or real external attentional foci might be such things as the floor or some costume or clothes, practice clothes that we're wearing. There could be other props such as balls or bands, teaching resources or therapeutic resources. It extends to partner dancers and particularly the relationship in movement to other dancers. This moves through all of the movement orientation and direction on the form, patterns, and dynamics and quality that we so commonly use in dance. That list is exhaustive. And then External focus extends to musical listening, rhythmic approach to movement, accents, dynamics, textures, and the dramatical storyline. So a simple external attentional focus that uses the tangible environment might be press the floor away, as we just did in our balance example, rather than a more usual body part instruction with a fragmented focus of straighten the legs and lift up out of the hips. Here's an example for children with learning difficulties. It's the Missouri Contemporary Ballet Company that runs classes for children with special needs. And they use a foundational resource, which are stickers and colors. So they use blue for left and red for right. And it's a brilliant and yet simple external attentional focus that supports movement fluency and speed of learning. So our external attentional focus possibilities also range into sensory foci and imaginary foci. So sensory foci such as touch or the proprioceptive sense of any movement or action. In dance, of course, we're very familiar with the use of metaphoric imagery, more so than in other disciplines, apparently. And yet again, we use that external focus imagery rather spontaneously, and we frequently combine it with body part control instructions, rather than applying it systematically to consistently facilitate movement for all. So whatever the chosen type of external focus, it should always draw the mover's attention to the desired movement patterns, trajectories, qualities, dynamics, effects, or outcome, and not to the person themselves, to their physical ability, or to the conscious control of their physical actions. Let us experiment again for a moment and learn, or in many cases revisit, some basic ballet movements. We're going to take a demi-plie, port de bras, tendu, and rise, using both of the control approaches. First, we'll use internal and then external. If you are a dance teacher, then practice this dance amnesia and aim to revisit as if for the very first time. This way you can compare the amount of effort we're prompted to use and any other physiological changes we might observe. Also try to notice our ease of learning, what it feels like to dance with that focus instruction. And lastly, our levels of enjoyment with each. So moving into your space, if you need to use your support for this, that's no problem at all. We're going to explore a simple ballet exercise, but we're going to do that with the two control approaches. So we'll do that first with an internal, and then we'll do it with lots of external instructions. And again, you're going to be looking at things like how much effort did it take? How easy was the learning? How dance-like did it feel? And how were you actually breathing? So those are a few, or bodily sensations, any other bodily sensations you might be able to pick up, like how big you felt or how small you felt. For those of you that are obviously very, very familiar, try to have amnesia and relearn with me. And I'll do my best in the first example to stay only in internal attentional focus, which I don't really teach in anymore. So forgive me if I make any blips there and go into external. I'll do my best to stay in internal. So you're going to, first of all, bring your heels together. So we're all in internal for the moment. Bring the heels together and open the toes out just a little bit. And I'm going to make a shape where I bring my fingertips towards each other down in my lower body. Good. So I'm going to bend the knees and release the ankles. So knee, ankle focus. And as I do that, keeping the heels on the ground, I'm going to open out my arms, fingertips pointing towards the ground. Good. And coming back, I'm going to join my fingertips more or less together and straighten that leg bend. Yep. Just focusing in on the body words that I'm using. So we're going to bend the knees, move the ankles, leave the heels on the ground. And this time, the arm circle is going to come up to about chest height. And as you straighten the legs, you're going to open that out to the sides until your arms are at shoulder height as they were in our balance exercise. So turning the arms, we're going to lift the heels from the floor, and we're going up a little bit with the arms, very straight arms, up with the straight arms, and join the fingertips together, or almost, point towards each other, come down and bend the knees, and bring those arms in front of the chest and the face and right down into the lower body, and extend one leg, it doesn't matter which one, fingertips go back to the ground again, and down. Fingertips come towards each other. Yes, so we're going to bend with the knees, ankle action, and opening out till the fingertips point towards the ground in the same action, and coming in and rejoin, straighten the legs. And bend and lift that up towards your chest. So thinking of the round arms, and straighten the legs and open that out to the sides. We're going to turn the arms and lifting the heels. We're in internal attentional focus. Straight arms are going a bit higher as I lift the heels again. Lifting the heels 3 times. 3 times, I'm going to point my fingertips towards each other, come down, bend the knees, and bring that arm position towards your lower body. Extend one leg and bring it together. Whew, let's try that one more time. Are you ready? Just once more in this first position. So heels touching, just focus in on my body words. Heels touching, toes turning out a little bit. Fingertips make a round arm position. They're almost touching. And we bend the knees, ankles move, heels stay on the ground, and simultaneously arms go out and point towards the ground. And we come back in again and straighten, heels on the ground. Good. And bending the knees and the ankles, and at the same time carry that round arm position up to the chest and press, straighten the legs and opening out until your arms are at shoulder height. Turn the arms over so your palms down, and I'm going to lift my heels off the ground and lower the heels to the ground 3 times. Lift the heels and lower to the ground. Internal focus, straight arms. Arms are going to almost join, so fingertips point towards each other. Come on down, and we'll stop there. Bring that arm circle down to the lower body and press and straighten the legs and stop. Okay, well done. Shake out. So just notice as we do that how much effort you were using to do that little exercise, and how successful did it feel in terms of fluidity, enjoyment, breathing. Now, as we do this with an external focus, we're going to do the same. We'll do the first, the second, and the first in external so that we make it even. I get to add music because music is the most perfect external attentional focus. So even if we don't want to think about any other types of external focus, we can go back just to the musical listening or the musicality of our dance teaching. So let's work out what we're going to do on the external. I won't speak too much. We're going to make a narrow base, as Bradford Chin says, and we're going to be in a beautiful swimming pool right now. So that can be the water, whatever temperature you prefer, and just feel it around your body a little bit. And we're going to sink down into the water and gather up the water. You've got a small advantage, you know the pattern a little bit now. We're going to sink down into the water, let that float up and open out. Yes, I'm not going to tell you more because we can just do it with the music. So we've got external focus words that will be coming, and we've got some music that you could just listen to if you wanted to listen to another external focus. Here we go. Ready? We're comparing effort. Narrow base. In the pool, we're going down through the water and gather the water up. And we do that again. We go down into the pool and everything floats up and skim the water. And I'm going to press the pool away. And I'm going to go up towards that sunny sky 3 times. Higher. Draw some sunshine down. And a wide base. Through the water. Feel the water around you. And floating up in the pool. And skim the surface. Good. And up towards the blue. I'm going to press the tiles away in the pool. And even further towards the blue. Connect and draw that blue sky down. Stretch and bring it together. And gather it up. And as we sink down, let that shape float to the surface and open it wide out. And press and reach towards the blue sky and lower. Press and reach further till you can bring the sunshine down and press into the pool to come up, and just feel that water around you before we stop and shake out. Well done. Stopping my lovely music. So, did you notice how much effort you were promoted to use in the internal versus the external? Did you notice if you were breathing in each version? Which one felt lighter to learn? What did you notice about your focus? When did you feel fragmented and when did you feel whole? What effect did the music provide finally? Perhaps you found the movement lighter with the music supporting. Because the music and musical listening and the musicality of a movement is one of the most natural external attentional focuses to dance. In which version would you say that you felt as if you were really dancing? So let's move on and take a brief look at some of the existing attentional focus literature relating to diverse publics with different movement challenges. In a research that was undertaken with very young children of 5 years of age, the children were asked to jump with 3 different foci, with an internal focus of attention on their fingertips, an external focus of attention on the measuring lines of this device, and with no instructions as a control trial. Even for such young children, jump height was significantly impacted with an external focus, as we can see there in the red. For some of the 5-year-olds, this understanding of optimum focus for jump height seemed to be intuitive. It's perhaps then simply unlearnt or forgotten later on by us adults. One participant exclaimed that the internal focus on the fingertips was clearly stupid, as then she would jump much less. Research then moved on to see if the benefits found for non-disabled children and adults were applicable to children with mild intellectual deficiency. Participants in this research were average age 12.2 years and were asked to practice throwing at a target. The retention and learning was assessed 1 day later, and also the ability to transfer learning to a test of greater distance. There were no focus reminders given on the test day. The external group demonstrated more effective learning than the internal focus group, with more accurate throws on the greater distance transfer test as well. Instructions that induce an external focus of attention can enhance motor learning in children with intellectual disability. In another study, 48 girls with symptoms of attentional deficit hyperactivity disorder, aged 7 and 11 years, were similarly asked to throw a ball at a target to assess accuracy and learning. They were randomly assigned to groups of either internal or external focus. However, they stayed within their age group. They were given a retention test to assess learning just 1 day later. Again, we can see in red that promoting an external focus of attention relative to an internal focus of attention led to better motor learning amongst girls with ADHD. In addition to this improved learning, adopting an external focus of attention reduced the children's tendency to focus on the self. In the case of a patient in stroke recovery, using tape in a pilot study as an external focus of attention to increase the action of knee flexion. The patient was asked to focus first on bending the knee as much as possible in the internal focus trials, and in the external focus trials was asked to focus on the yellow tapes we see either side of the joint, and to simply focus on bringing the tapes as close together as possible. The external focus of attention produced an immediate, significant, measurable improvement in the range of motion of the restricted joint. Lastly, research has been undertaken to study the generalizability of attentional focus findings to balance in participants with Parkinson's disease. In this study, 22 participants diagnosed with idiopathic Parkinson's disease were asked to perform an eyes open balance test with 3 different attentional focus conditions. Firstly, with no instructions, secondly, with internal focus instructions, and lastly, with external focus instructions. In the control trial, or the no instructions, participants were asked simply to stand quietly. For the internal focus trials, they were asked to focus on putting an equal amount of pressure on their own feet. And in the external focus trials, they were asked to focus on putting an equal amount of pressure on the supporting squares or rectangles of the measuring device. Postural sway, a primary symptom of Parkinson's disease, was seen to be significantly increased when internal focus of attention instructions were given, relative to the control trial even, with no focus instructions, demonstrating that promoting an internal focus of attention using internal instructions, as are frequently done in movement learning, exacerbates instability and impedes the reflex ability to micro-adjust balance. When only the patients with a history of falls were selected, then the effect of the attentional focus was much more pronounced. External focus instructions, conversely, resulted in less postural sway than either the internal focus or the no attentional focus instructions, as we can see here in red. concluding that the effective balance of Parkinson's disease sufferers with a history of falls can be significantly enhanced by systematically adopting an external focus of attention in movement instruction. So let us finish by experimenting with several different types of external foci, all together in one longer movement phrase. And we can compare the sense of movement fluency with our internal focus of attention, plie and port de bras exercise that we did earlier. We're going to be using several different external foci then. I'm going to use the physical environment, a dramatical idea to promote quality and interpretation. We'll have some metaphorical imagery to facilitate effective movement coordination and learning, a few geometric shapes and movement directions to facilitate our orientation, and we'll take advantage of the free cognitive reserve to engage our proprioceptive senses and musical listening. We are all here from different disciplines and of different movement skills levels, and yet the systematic drawing of the attention away from the self and the need for self-control of the body parts onto the desired movement quality, trajectory, effect, or objective immediately enhances our performance on all levels. The focus on the desired movement then, rather than separating individuals based on our seemingly physical differences or ability to conform, unites all dancers in the intention and the joy of the movement, thus enabling an inclusive and positive learning experience for all. So make a little bit of space in your room again. And if you don't want to do this without a support, you can also do this by holding on to something or having a support near you. We're going to use lots of different kinds of external attentional focus, but there's two that I want to bring your attention to before we start our longer movement phrase. And that would be, the first one is going to be like a spotlight or shining out through us and beyond. I'm going to use that spotlight to shine my light in different directions through me. That's one. And the other one is we're going to imagine or have a message that we'd like to share with others. And since we're not children, so I'm going to choose a rather more subtle idea. In this COVID time of confinement and fear and uncertainty, I'd like you just to choose a message that you would share with other people through this movement phrase that we're going to do. So we'll start off by consolidating or creating our message and just embracing that, and then we'll use it during our movement. The rest are easy to follow. So we've got a shining light or spotlight that's going to change direction as we work. And we've got a dramatic idea, a message for others, a comforting message that we'd like to share in this time of uncertainty. So are you ready? Off we go. We're going to do it 2 times with some instructions, and a 3rd time where I'll allow us to listen into the music, be able to interpret the music, and really try to dance with minimum instruction from me. So off we go. I'm going to use an forward and backwards bass, as Bradford would say. So weight forwards and weight backwards. And I'm going to start by creating the message that I'd like to share. And I'm going to curve and bend and bring up that message and send it out with my light along the horizon as far as I can, and change your light, other corner. curving, bending. I'm going to bring that thought up, send it far away with my light as far as I can go, and bring your light to the camera. Deep. Gather it up. And we're going to make space for our thought. Come to that crossed position. I'm going to press the floor away. Take my message up. And I'm going to gather it back in. Unfolding it out gently. And let's follow in a circle so that we can do that again. Come back to your forward and back supporting base and breathe. So one more time. Really see the message you'd like to give out. How big it, maybe it's a very big message or thought or energy for other people. And your light is going to shine in different directions. Are you ready? We're going to do a deep curve down. Embrace your thought. Bring it up high. Send it out as far as you can along the horizon and change to the other side. Deep. Round. Draw that up and extend it out, extending out, extending out. Change the direction of the light to the camera. Down and round. The thought is gathering energy, it's getting bigger. Make space for it. And come to that cross base. I'm going to take it on up towards the universe. Far away. And now gather it back. Draw it back down into the earth. Gently unfolding it. And following around, follow those directions into a circle. Coming back. Feeling all that water that we had around you in the plie exercise. Beautiful. And here's the last time. I'm going to try to be very quiet. Listening into the music, allow that to affect the quality of your movement. I have a thought I want to share with others at this time. I'm going to make it real for myself and shine in this direction, in the diagonal. So I'm going to make a round curve and draw that thought up and actively send it out with my light to that corner, far as I can. Curving. And sending out. Far, 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 far. Gathered energy, so give it space and send it up to the universe, or up to the stars, and draw it back down into you. Gather it back together again. And gently out. And follow around. Listening in. And feeling the water movement around in the pool. Beautifully done. Well done. So, you're asking yourself questions like, what did that learning experience feel like? Perhaps in comparison to the plie and port de bras we did before with internal body instructions. What was the sensory experience? So how did it feel dancing? Was it enjoyable? Were you really dancing? And importantly, could you hear and respond to the music this time? Well done. Focusing on the physical ability of individuals divides a diverse group of students, exacerbating a sense of difference, of separation, of physical fragmentation, and of inaccessibility. The internal focus of attention on body part control increases consciousness of self, promoting a global movement dysfunction and freezing to further deteriorate the motor performance of any and all dancers. Approaching ballet with a focus on the dancer's attention and intention of the desired movement unites then diverse groups, giving a sense of equality, inclusion, a sense of being whole or normal, and a sense of actually dancing. Using a consistent external focus of attention as a teaching strategy further facilitates movement for all learners, whatever their challenges, in a glorious, virtuous circle. Thank you for your willing attention and your interaction today. I'm Clare Guss-West, and attention and focus in dance is my specialism. I'd like to thank the Adams team for their incredible organization of this iConference, and please do enjoy the other stimulating sessions. I hope to see you in the live virtual question and response sessions. So save your attentional focus questions till then if you can, or mail them to me alternatively, and I'll respond as soon as possible. Many thanks. Bye-bye.